this. There's a voice inside your head that never stops talking. It questions every decision you make, reminds you of every failure, this, and worries about a future that hasn't even arrived yet. That voice is the noise that keeps you trapped in your own mind. This, you wake up with it. You go to sleep with it. It tells you this, you're not enough. You should have done better. And the more you listen, the louder it becomes. This. But here's the truth. Peace doesn't come when life gets easier. It comes when the mind becomes quieter. This. And if you can learn to quiet the noise inside your head, you will discover a strength far greater than any challenge around you. This. So before you scroll away, I want you to stay for a few minutes, because what you'll hear today isn't motivation. It's a mirror. A mirror that will show you how to stop the chaos within and how to finally master your mind. Silence is not the absence of sound. It is the presence of awareness. In a world that never stops talking, silence has become rare. And yet it is within that very silence that true strength is born. Most people believe power comes from movement, from speaking louder, from doing more. But real strength is not found in noise. It's discovered in stillness. When the mind becomes quiet, a person begins to see clearly. Not just the world, but themselves. Every day you are surrounded by distractions. The phone buzzes, the news screams. The world demands your attention. And slowly, without realizing it, you lose connection with your inner self. The more noise you let in, the less space remains for clarity. The mind becomes like muddy water, full of movement, but unable to reflect anything clearly. Silence is what allows the water to settle. When the ripples fade, you begin to see your reflection again. It is in that moment of inner stillness that strength begins to grow. Because when you are silent, you can finally hear what your soul is trying to say. You begin to recognize which thoughts are yours and which ones belong to fear, society, or the opinions of others. Silence separates the real from the illusion. It gives birth to awareness, and awareness gives birth to power. Think about a warrior before battle. He does not rush. He breathes. He centers himself. The strength he carries is not in his weapons, but in his calmness. That calmness comes from silence, from being completely present and aware of what is happening within. When you are silent, you are no longer pulled in 100 directions. You act from the center. You respond instead of react. And that is where strength lives, not in control over others, but in control over yourself. But silence doesn't just happen. It is something you must train for, like any other skill. The moment you try to be silent, the mind will rebel. It will throw thoughts at you, memories, fears, plans, anything to keep you distracted. That's because the mind is addicted to noise. It believes movement means survival. Yet, when you stay still long enough, the mind begins to understand that silence is not a threat, it's a teacher. And in that quiet, you start to see life as it truly is, not how you imagine it. Strength that comes from silence cannot be shaken easily. It is not dependent on praise, validation, or circumstances. When everything around you falls apart, the person who has mastered silence remains grounded. They know how to pause before they respond, how to breathe before they speak, how to stay still when everyone else is rushing. That kind of composure doesn't come from ego. It comes from deep understanding, from a mind that has learned to listen more than it speaks. In silence, the heart becomes lighter. The noise of comparison fades. The pressure to prove disappears. You start to realize that peace was never something to be found. It was always something to be remembered. Every moment of silence brings you closer to that remembrance. And with each breath of awareness, you become stronger, not outwardly, but inwardly. So if you truly wish to build strength, don't look for it in noise. Don't seek it in arguments or attention. Sit with yourself. Listen to the stillness between your thoughts. In that silence, there is wisdom. In that wisdom, there is strength. And in that strength, you'll find freedom. The freedom to live without fear, without confusion, without the constant noise that once ruled your mind. Observation over reaction. This is one of the most powerful principles a human being can live by. Yet, it is also one of the hardest to practice. Most people move through life reacting to everything that happens to them. A word, a message, a setback, and instantly emotion takes control. Anger rises, fear awakens, judgment appears. Without even realizing it, you hand over your peace to whatever is happening around you. But the person who learns to observe, not react, discovers a kind of freedom that few ever experience. Observation turns chaos into clarity, pain into wisdom, and life itself into a teacher. To observe means to create space between what happens and how you respond. It is the pause that allows awareness to enter before emotion takes over. Imagine a drop of water falling into a still pond. If the surface is calm, you can clearly see the ripples spreading outward. But if the water is already stormy, you see nothing, only confusion and noise. The mind works the same way. When it's filled with reactions, judgments, and constant chatter, you cannot see reality clearly. Observation is what keeps the surface still. When you observe your thoughts, emotions, and surroundings without immediate judgment, you begin to see things as they are, not as your mind interprets them. Someone insults you, and instead of reacting with anger, you simply notice the feeling that rises. You feel the heat in your chest, the tightening of your breath, the desire to respond, and you just watch it. In that moment of observation, something incredible happens. You are no longer the emotion, you are the awareness watching it. The energy of anger begins to lose its control over you because you are no longer feeding it. Reaction is instinctive. Observation is intelligent. When you react, you become a slave to your conditioning, acting out of old habits, fears, and memories. But when you observe, you are awake. You break the chain of automatic behavior. You begin to respond from clarity instead of chaos. And the more you practice this, the more powerful you become. Because now, no one can control you with words, opinions, or situations. Your calmness becomes your shield. Observation does not mean suppression. It doesn't mean ignoring emotions or pretending to be unaffected. It means being fully present with whatever arises, watching it, understanding it, but not letting it define you. When sadness appears, sit with it. When anger burns, feel it. When anxiety visits, breathe with it, but don't become it. The clouds may darken the sky, but they never touch the sun. In the same way, emotions may pass through your awareness, but they cannot disturb the peace that lies underneath unless you react. Every great teacher, warrior, and philosopher throughout history has understood this truth. The difference between the wise and the ordinary is not that the wise never feel anger or fear. It's that they have mastered the space between feeling and action. They observe before they move. They understand before they speak. They respond from silence, not from noise. This is what gives their presence power. Observation is also an act of compassion. When you truly observe others without rushing to judge, interrupt, or compare, you start to see their humanity. You begin to understand that everyone is fighting their own inner battles. Your patience deepens. Your empathy grows. You stop trying to change people, and instead you begin to reflect calmness that invites them to change themselves. To live with observation is to live consciously. It means you no longer let every thought dictate your mood or every situation steal your peace. You start to choose your response, and that is where freedom begins. When you master observation, life slows down. The noise fades. You see patterns you never saw before. You notice how your mind creates stories and how those stories shape your reality. And then you realize the power to change your life was never outside you. It was in your awareness all along. So the next time life challenges you, do not rush to react. Take a breath, step back, watch. Let awareness rise before words do. In that pause, in that silence, lies all your strength. The one who can observe without reacting has already mastered half the battle of life. Because nothing can truly disturb the mind that has learned to watch itself. The art of inner clarity is the foundation of a peaceful and purposeful life. Without clarity, even the most intelligent mind becomes lost. A person may have ambition, strength, or opportunity, but without inner direction, all effort turns into noise. Clarity is not about having all the answers. It is about seeing things as they truly are, not as fear or desire wants them to be. It is the quiet knowing that comes when the fog of confusion begins to lift. When you stop chasing everything outside and start listening to what's happening inside. Most people confuse activity with progress. They run from one goal to another, one distraction to the next, constantly seeking meaning in movement. But the more they move without clarity, the more they lose themselves. Inner clarity begins when you stop running. When you sit in silence long enough to hear the subtle whispers of your own consciousness. It is born in stillness, when you no longer chase the next thing to do, but instead begin to understand why you are doing anything at all. Clarity is not given to you, it must be cultivated. It requires patience, honesty, and the courage to look within. The mind is like a lake that has been disturbed. The more you stir it, the murkier it becomes. But if you allow it to rest, the water clears and you can finally see to the bottom. That bottom represents truth. Your real intentions, your deepest values, your genuine purpose. The problem is most people never let the water settle. They keep stirring it with endless thoughts, comparisons, and judgments. Inner clarity comes only when you are willing to stop, breathe, and observe without reacting. When the mind becomes clear, decision-making becomes effortless. You no longer hesitate between right and wrong, between should and must. You simply know. The clarity does not come from logic alone. It arises from alignment. When your thoughts, emotions, and actions begin to move in the same direction, you no longer act out of confusion or pressure, but from understanding. That understanding gives you peace, and that peace gives you power. Because when your inner world is organized, the outer world can no longer control you. But inner clarity also requires letting go of noise, of stories, of attachments that cloud your perception. Every belief you hold, every label you carry, creates a lens through which you see life. Over time, those lenses distort reality. You begin to see the world not as it is, but as you have been conditioned to believe it is. The art of clarity is the art of cleaning those lenses. It is not about adding more knowledge, but removing what no longer serves you. Each time you drop a false belief, a little more light enters your mind. Each time you release judgment, your vision becomes wider. Slowly, you begin to see again with the simplicity and purity of awareness. Clarity doesn't always bring comfort. Sometimes seeing the truth means confronting things you've been avoiding, the fears you hide, the pain you suppress, the lies you tell yourself. But facing those shadows is what sets you free. Avoidance breeds confusion. Acceptance brings clarity. When you stop running from truth, it stops chasing you. And in that stillness, you find the calm certainty that nothing outside you can disturb the peace within. True clarity is not rigid. It flows like water. It allows you to adapt without losing yourself. It is the strength to stay centered even when everything around you shifts. A clear mind doesn't mean a silent mind. It means a balanced one, where thoughts appear and pass like clouds in the open sky, never blocking the light of awareness. When you cultivate inner clarity, your presence itself changes. People feel calmer around you because your energy no longer carries confusion. Your words gain weight because they come from understanding, not impulse. You stop searching for validation because clarity brings confidence, not arrogance, but a quiet assurance that you are moving in the right direction. In the end, clarity is not a destination. It is a daily practice. Each morning, you return to yourself, to silence, to awareness, to truth. You clean the mirror of the mind again and again until it reflects life as it really is. And when you can see clearly you stop being lost. The world outside may remain noisy and chaotic, but within you, there is space, a vast stillness where every answer already exists. That is the art of inner clarity, to live from the calm center of awareness, where peace is not found but remembered. Discipline is the path to peace. These words may seem simple, yet they carry a truth that most people never fully understand. Many chase peace through comfort, through escape, through temporary pleasures that quiet the mind for a moment, but leave the heart restless. Real peace, however, is not a gift that life gives to you. It is a result of how you live your life. It is built, not found. And the foundation it stands on is discipline, the quiet, consistent act of choosing what strengthens you over what weakens you. Discipline is not about control, it is about alignment. It is the art of training the mind to obey wisdom instead of emotion. Every day your mind offers you two voices. One says, do it later. The other says, do it now. One seeks ease, the other seeks growth. The voice you listen to determines the life you live. Discipline is choosing to follow the voice that leads you toward strength, even when the weaker one feels louder. It is the moment you rise before the sun, not because it is easy, but because you made a promise to yourself and you intend to keep it. There is a deep connection between discipline and inner peace because discipline removes internal conflict. When your actions match your values, the noise in your head begins to fade. The anxiety that comes from procrastination, the guilt that follows broken promises, the doubt that grows from inconsistency, all of it starts to dissolve when you begin to live with discipline. Peace is not the absence of challenges, it is the absence of resistance within yourself. And that absence can only be achieved when you live with intention and commitment. The undisciplined mind is restless. It jumps from one thought to another, from one desire to the next. It seeks constant stimulation, constant movement, because stillness feels uncomfortable. But through discipline, you train the mind to stay where it is, to focus on one thing at a time. You learn to finish what you start, to stand firm in the face of distraction. Slowly, Your thoughts begin to obey your direction. Your emotions begin to follow your awareness. And your energy begins to move with purpose. This is how peace enters, not through running away from chaos, but through mastering yourself in the middle of it. The problem is that people often see discipline as a prison, something that restricts freedom. But the truth is the opposite. This lack of discipline is the real prison. It keeps you chained to your impulses, to your moods, to whatever emotion happens to arise in the moment. A disciplined person, on the other hand, is free. They are no longer controlled by laziness, anger, or temptation. They act from awareness, not reaction. Their freedom is born from structure. Their peace is born from commitment. Discipline also teaches patience. It reminds you that growth does not happen overnight. Just as a seed must stay buried before it can bloom, you too must endure the quiet work of consistency before results appear. Each day that you show up for yourself, whether it's in meditation, in work, or in silence, you strengthen the muscle of self-trust. You begin to realize that peace is not a reward for perfection, but a natural outcome of persistence. The more disciplined you become, the calmer your mind grows, because it learns that it can rely on you. There will always be days when motivation disappears, but discipline is what carries you through when feelings fade. It is the reminder that your purpose is greater than your mood. Every small act of discipline, waking up early, controlling your words, sitting in stillness, choosing kindness over reaction, shapes the mind into something unshakable. Each decision to remain consistent becomes a stone in the foundation of peace. In time, discipline turns into serenity. You stop fighting your own habits because they now serve you. You stop searching for balance because it lives inside you. The disciplined life may look simple from the outside, but within it lies deep fulfillment. It gives you the strength to stay grounded in chaos, to stay kind in anger, to stay focused in distraction. And that is the highest form of peace, not an escape from the world, but a calm master of yourself while living in it. So if you truly want peace, don't wait for it, build it. Build it through discipline, through the daily act of choosing growth over comfort, presence over distraction, silence over noise. Discipline is not punishment, it is love in its highest form, love expressed through consistency. Love that protects your purpose, love that leads you back to peace. For in the end, a disciplined mind is not just strong, it is free, and a free mind is always at peace.